Welcome back to the Restless Podcast. On this edition of Ringside Chats, I'm sitting here with Prince Alexander. The man has traveled all over the Texas indie circuit, wrestling for promotions like Texas All-Stars, New Texas Pro Wrestling, Texas Contender Series, Premier Wrestling Federation, and much, much more. And he's also one half of the PH Boys, you can't forget, with Stevie Hendricks. Prince Alexander, thank you for joining us on the Restless Podcast.
Appreciate you, man. You did your homework. Doc. I was like, wait a minute, now. You know all that now.
I had to do my homework because I recently attended PWF Anarchy, and I won't lie, this was my first time seeing you live. And generally on Restless, we only really reach out to the wrestlers who really interest us. And when I saw your match against Dustin win, I saw the entrance, the presentation, everything. I saw you after the match, if you remember. I was like, I want to get this guy on the podcast. I want to talk to him. You seem like you have a story to tell, and I want to hear it. So once again, thank you for being with us.
Appreciate you. Thank you for having me, man. It's an honor. It's a privilege, man. That Wind Dragon match, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. That was my first time ever working him, so he was excited. So,
wow.
So I can't wait. I can't wait to wrestle him again.
Hopefully y'all can run it back. Unfortunately, you didn't get the dub at PWF, but next time you run it back, maybe it'll be more in your favor. How was it working with Dustin for the first time, and was it natural for you? Did you have to talk things out a lot? How was it?
It was interesting because that's my first time ever wrestling somebody that does kung fu. So like he's unorthodox, if that makes sense. So like his strikes ain't normal strikes, it's kung fu strikes, if that makes sense. So like I'm always getting ready for a forearm, but he's throwing all kind of kung fu stuff coming at me. I'm like, oh snap. So it was a very fun, different experience, if that makes sense.
Definitely. That crowd was so behind Dustin, and they were booing the hell out of you, man. I remember when you came out, they were really like pouring down the booze. Are you used to getting reactions like that?
No. So I'm usually a quote unquote baby face, right? So like usually when I'm coming out, I'm always bubbly. Hey, how's everybody doing? Right? I'm shaking hands, kissing babies, all that good stuff. Especially at MPX. Me and MPX, we have that awesome connection. Every time me and Stevie, we coming out with Purple Haze. Everybody's getting up, we're jumping, we're dancing. Until I go to PWF. As soon as I go out, I'm doing the same stuff, and out of nowhere, like everybody's booing. They booed the crap out of me. I was not expecting it. At first, it was quiet, right? Because like they never seen me before. So like I'm trying to get them hyped up, and then they remember who I'm wrestling, which is Dustin. I'm like, yo, everybody started booing. I was like, man, what's going on around here? It's like that. They do that to me, but I just realized that's just his home. That's his home, and they love him.
Yeah, when you're at the Houston Premier Arena, Dustin Wynn is gonna get a loud pop. They love him over there. But I want to take it way back before PWF, before Texas All-Star, before all this. Where did you train your wrestling?
So I started off right after Mother's Day 2018. I told my mother I wasn't should I go for it. So Texas All-Star Wrestling, that's where I started at. So I started at Texas All-Star Wrestling, trained from Estrella Galactica, what's his name, Jason Sullivan, Scobie Gober, and then like they would bring guys in like Brian Keith, Jonathan Vega, like guys like that to help us teach and train us and stuff like that. And eventually I moved on to live action wrestling. That's where I currently train at here and there. They would bring in some guys like Ninja Mac, who is an awesome, like, I thought I was good in the ring until like you go against Ninja Mac every day, and he's a workhorse of a guy, and you learn, like, you see where he's at. Like that's where you want to be. And that's what he's training like, then I gotta train like that too. And it's something right there, man.
Definitely. And you said you started up in 2018. Do you still feel like
Yep.
you're on the newer side to the business, or do you feel like you're pretty well adjusted and that you're becoming one of the more experienced guys around Texas?
I still feel I'm new because around 2020, yeah, I tore my shoulder. So like I was out. I was out for a year. I had to get surgery and everything. So like I never really um got my feet wet in pro wrestling, if that makes sense. I was still on the verge of training and I had a couple matches here and there, but when I was really starting to get my feet wet, I got injured. So nobody really never saw me like that. So this is kind of like I'm kind of like brand new, but not brand new. Like people know me, but like the fans, like they don't know me, if that makes sense. So I gotta get myself out there more.
No, I definitely understand. If you don't mind me asking, how did the injury occur?
Oh man, it was how did it happen? Because there's multiple ways it happened, but there I think it was one specific one. I don't want to make it act like somebody can't work anything or something like that, but like it was freaking. I remember one instance. It used to pop in and out of place all the time, but there was one occasion where it popped out to where it was like, oh yeah, this is completely broken. That was when I was wrestling Jay Davis, the Rottweiler. He put me in an F5, and as soon as I landed, I just felt it just pop go out of place, and I was like, yo. And then he just put it back in place real quick on accident. He didn't even mean to. He just put me in a pin, but he put it back in place. I was like, okay, well, I need surgery.
By any chance, did that injury and recovering from it change up your wrestling style at all, or do you feel like you just went back to working how you used to?
At first, I got scared because you don't want to get injured again. You know what I mean? So you're doing less, but trying to make it seem like it's more. Because I was before pre-injury, I was trying to do the most craziest stuff, and I was just realized like, wow, I'm not gonna career if I'm just trying to do all these crazy things, and nobody's like noticing at the time. So it's like I had to switch it up. Now I'm kind of more free flowing now because I feel like I'm more comfortable. At first, I ain't gonna lie, when I came back, I was chunky. I was like 230 pounds. I ain't gonna sit here and cap. And I had to work that weight off because it's surgery weight. So so now I went from 230 all the way down to 180. So it's a that was a heck of a that was a journey right there.
Yeah, 230 to 180. That's crazy. What was that process like? What was the cut process for you?
Pain, pain. Just saying no to food now. Like you just realize like you're a professional athlete, so you got to look the part
Yeah.
of a professional athlete. So I started prepping. At first I ain't gonna sit here and cap. At first I wasn't prepping. When you start working out, you're gonna start losing weight regardless. You know what I mean? But once I hit a plateau around 195, that's where I realized I had to start meal prepping and stuff like that to get the weight off even more. So I lost the additional 15 pounds doing cardio. I hate cardio so much, but doing cardio and all kind of stuff like. So it took some process, but we finally got there.
Wow, man. I'm not gonna lie. That sounds pretty inspirational because I'm sitting at 230 right now, and I know I'm trying to
Good.
shed that. And I was like, my dream weight is like 180. So I was like, okay, maybe I need to get on that Prince Alexander, that
Hey, come on, man.
that routine you got. Yeah, man. Maybe I got to train with you.
Come on, man. I got you. I got you, man.
Yeah, I bet you do. And you said you started training at Texas All Star, right? How'd you get your
Yes,
foot
sir.
in the door there? How'd you find that school to be yours?
So it's funny. Usually, when you look up Houston training, the first place you're always gonna look at is online is like reality of wrestling. Like you're gonna see it. And at the time, I have enough money, and my car down Pontiac Grand AM. It couldn't reach from here to your local McDonald's. So like I was like I need somewhere close. And then out of nowhere I look on Facebook and it says Texas All Star Wrestling here in Greenspoint. It's like what? So I get the number and it's a guy named Bob Murphy. I was like, hey yo, is this Texas All Star Wrestling? He was like, yeah, you're gonna meet a guy named Terry, right? And I was like, oh okay, cool. So when I get there, I'm looking for a guy named Terry, and I'm thinking because it's pro wrestling, all I see is like the biggest of the biggest dudes. I'm like, bro, like 6'5", 240 pounds. Out of nowhere, he's just, he was like, it's like just a little bit over my height, and I was like, oh snap, this guy's just like me. But he was so good in the ring. He was so talented. I was like, yo, what is this? I ain't never met this guy before, but he's so good in the ring. So I learned that. What else? Because there was somebody else that I met, a guy named Kerry. Kerry was the guy that taught me how to bump. So all those things were insane right there.
And did you know you wanted to be a professional wrestler for a long time in your life? Like, what was the decision like that? I'm gonna go to Texas All Stars and I'm gonna train to be a professional wrestler. This is my life now.
This started when I was a baby. I ain't gonna sit here and cap. Like this started when I was a baby. Like my very first memory of life, right? Like when you first have you ever had your first memory, like your conscious memory? Like
Yeah,
my
yeah.
first memory was like I was in Chuck E. Cheese and like everybody is screaming happy birthday to me. And like the first toy I see is the Dudley Boys with a table. And you're a kid. I was like, I don't know what this is, but I like it. I like it a lot. So that was my first memory. So ever since I just been a fan, and I wanted to be. I said I know I wanted to do this. Like this is the only thing that makes me happy.
So, did you eventually? You probably did grow up with the product, right? You were watching on a pretty consistent basis.
Yeah, on a consistent
Yeah.
basis. Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, all that.
And who was that favorite wrestler of yours when you were a child?
Oh, it's tough. It's tough, man.
We asked the hard questions.
I would have to say, as a child, as a child, I would have to say Rey Mysterio. When I was a child, it was Rey. Rey was a child. When I got like 12, 13, I think it was like AJ Styles at the time and stuff like that. But like when I was like a kid, it was Rey Mysterio.
That's super interesting because we've talked to guys like Isaac Morales, Dustin Wynn, and many more. And a lot of times we get Rey Mysterio as a childhood answer, and when they grow up, AJ Styles. So it seems like these two
Yeah.
wrestlers have a real prominent, real prominent like grip on young Texas indie wrestlers at the moment. That's awesome.
It's crazy. I mean, I like Ray was just super like I guess I just saw myself in him. Like he wasn't like 6'5", 250 pounds. He was just basically my size, and he was like the biggest underdog. So I was like, if he can do this, like I know I can do it. But he's like the GOAT in my opinion. Like he's one of the best to ever do it. So I know I have to like really work hard to get to where he was at.
Definitely, I do see him as one of the goats because all the cards are stacked up against him. Right, he's not the typical build, not the typical height. He wears a mask, which is like no mask superstar thrives, and especially in the WWE. So
Yeah.
he's definitely up there, one of the top 10 or 15 in my opinion. But you land at Texas All Stars. What were the conversations like? Hey, you're gonna have your first match pretty soon. When did you know you were gonna have that first match?
Man, so in wrestling, you just got to be ready no matter what. So I was in Dallas and I was just helping around with the ring and stuff like that. And Bob Murphy, we was all out to eat, and he looked at me. He said, "You got your gear?" I was like, "Yeah." He said, "All right, be ready tomorrow." I was like, "Huh?" I was like, "Yo, like, what?" I said, "Yeah, be ready tomorrow. I got you." And so we're wrestling at what's called Trish Village, and it's a very, very big crowd, and I'm freaking out. And at the time, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of sick. I was like, I had a big headache and everything. Like, I don't know, I think it was nerves. There was a lot of nerves going on. So, but they said the guy that I wrestled was his. We wrestled, and he said we had the best match that he's ever seen him wrestle. So it felt pretty good. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm on the right track.
And when you're having those matches, do they tell you to kind of call it by the ear, or is it something you plan out beforehand?
Uh, it depends on who you're working. If
Mm-hmm.
I never worked you before, I would like to hear your brain. Like, I want to pick your brain. I want to hear your ideas. What's your psychology of a match? Things like that. Especially as me, young, like I tell everybody, like, I want to wrestle older people, and before I wrestle you, I want to like, let's sit down and talk. Like, what do you like? What do you like in a match? What makes you in a match, if that makes sense? Or if you just wrestle somebody for like 5, 8 times, like, it's like, all right, we're just gonna go out there and just say, I know what you like, you know what I like. Like, it's easy. So it depends.
Okay. So I'm gonna flip that on you. What makes you like you in the ring? How would you describe the Prince Alexander style?
Man, I like to call myself an aura, right? Like you said it, like, I got the bandana, I'm rocking the nose ring, the earrings. Well, only one now, but but the glasses, just like, I just want to have that aura around me, to where, like, oh, this is gonna be interesting. Like, I always tell myself, I want to capture moments, then capture pops. Like, that's my goal. I want to capture moments. I want to capture the fans. So if I can go out with a hot ass leather jacket, then I'm gonna do that. You know what I mean? Just to capture the fans, like, oh, this guy is cool. So that's what I mostly try to emphasize. Like, I'm trying to capture moments more than just quick pops, if that makes sense.
Definitely, I would say your entrance gear is super cool. It's one of
Yeah,
the better looking ones in indie wrestling, especially at PWF. You definitely
appreciate
stood
it.
out amongst the roster. No, definitely. Uh, how did you kind of decide to piece these all together? The bandana, the nose ring, the leather jacket, or did it just come naturally to you? Do you feel like that was you already?
Um, in the beginning, it was a process finding Prince Alexander. I'm not gonna lie. A lot of people, when you hear Prince, um, they think 1800s. So they wanted me to wrestle like an 1800s guy with the some kind of, what they call that thing? Like,
Like
it's like white,
like
but
a
it's like
ruffled shirt?
ruffled shirt. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There it is.
Yeah,
They
like
wanted
Triple
me to
H.
be in a yeah. They wanted me to be Triple H, and I was like, me, like I would feel so uncomfortable. Then it was like, well, you're Prince. Come out like Prince, like, be like the rock star Prince. And I was like, hold on, I like bandanas. You might be on to something. He was like, be flamboyant. I said, I'm not super flamboyant, but I can be comfortable flamboyant. So I started with the glasses. Then I started with the I used to wear feathers. So I used to wear feathers, and then I had the gloves, but I took the gloves off because everything just, that leather jacket, glove. I was like, it's too hot. I ain't got time for that. But I finally pieced it all together to where I made myself feel comfortable being me, if that makes sense.
Definitely. Did that kind of gimmick come together at Texas All Stars?
Mm, no, no, because, not gonna lie, they wanted me to be
The
the
ruffled
shirt
feather shirt? Yeah.
ruffle flat. They wanted me to be ruffled for a
Yeah.
minute, but then eventually they told me, like, just find you. It's a yes and a no, because they told me eventually, just find you. And then I started just coming to the shows, just bits and pieces of Prince. It was like, okay, now you're starting to open up. So they helped me start it, but live action wrestling and my journey now is starting to help me finish it. And I'm still, there's still bits and pieces that of Prince Alexander hopefully during the years that I'm wrestling, that's gonna be unveiling and stuff like that.
Well, it's really cool that you pieced it together, and it's obviously working because from promotion to promotion, it's sticking around, right? And when you go to live
Yeah,
action wrestling, what caused that transition from Texas All Stars to live action?
man. So, um, Jason Sullivan and Edson. Oh man, I hope I say his name right. Edson Beza. They had a position um, to start running shows, and they said they want me a part of it. So I was like, what? I I took a chance on myself. And I said, I can do this. I can go out. I can try my hardest. I can go out there and perform in front of a live audience, even though it was probably like I was a year and a half in, and they knew I just came back from injury, so I was more of a project, if that makes sense. They knew I was coming back from injury, and they wanted to slowly bring me in so I can get my reps up. So I thank them for exposing me to pro wrestling, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's really cool. It's almost like they're trying to build you up, build you back up from your injury.
Yeah,
And you wrestled at a bunch of promotions, but recently, or not too long ago, you were the Domination Zone Heavyweight Champion. How does it feel for a company
still,
to put still the Domination Heavyweight Champion?
yes,
How does it
sir.
feel for a company to put that title on you, to put the world title on you, that you are the guy for this organization?
I mean, it means the world. It really does. It means the world. It validates that the work that you're putting in means something, and somebody is noticing. You know what I mean? It means the world to me, man. Colony, the promoter, really nice dude. He gave me an opportunity. He just said, "You want to wrestle for this belt?" I was like, "Go ahead." So it's gonna be a tough. I was like, "I'll try." And when he saw me win, he was super proud of me. He was like, I know you can do this. You can do this. I was like, appreciate it so much. So they've always treated me well. And it just only means that when you're a champion, you got to go out there in the main event and you got to give out the best you can possibly do. So that's my goal every time. Every time I'm out in the main event, it means something. Is they don't put you there for a reason. Well, they put you there for a reason, if that makes sense, but you're there for a reason, so you got to go out there and you got to perform. So that's my goal every time.
Yeah, and was this the first singles titles you've won, or is this like I said, I did my homework, but maybe not enough.
No, 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 you're right on it, brother. You right on it.
Yeah.
That's my very first singles title I've ever won, a heavyweight championship. I was like, ooh, this is pretty cool right here. And second was the MPX tag belt. So I was double champion for a minute. So it was pretty cool right there.
Yeah, man, it's the first of many world championships for you. But speaking of those tag belts, MPX Tag Team Championship, tell me how the PH boys came together. How'd you meet Stevie Hendricks?
Man, so I met him at Texas All Star Wrestling. So we've been knowing each other. And the funny part is he hates tag team wrestling. I hate tag team wrestling. So we're at MPX. We don't even think about tagging with each other. We're all thinking about all the single matches we can have and stuff like that. And out of nowhere, he texted me and he was like, "Hey, yo, we're tagging." I said, "Tagging where?" He's like, "MPX." I was like, "What do you mean tagging?" He's like, "We're tagging." It's like, "Huh?" And so we started tagging. At first, it felt uncomfortable because we're both not familiar with tagging. And then out of nowhere, we just started to click. And then I started to get comfortable. And he started to get comfortable. And Stevie has the most amazing kind of energy. You know what I mean? Like, and you feed off of it. So everybody's noticing like Stevie's with this energy, and then I'm feeding with this energy. Then he's feeding off my energy, and then we're just starting to really like click. And then you see the fans starting to turn and starting to notice us. And we went from like a cameraman at MPX. Like I was really working, trying to get on MPX. I was cleaning up, doing everything I can. I still clean up MPX. I still clean up. But I'm just saying that. But like I was like cameraman from pre-show, first match, all the way to MPX Tag Team Champion. It meant a lot, and I can't. And it means even more that I did it with my brother. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So you guys had known each other for a very long time. But what was it that both of you did not like about tag team wrestling?
Man, I've always wanted to be a solo. You know what I mean? Like I always thought, man, I'm a solo guy. We've even talked about wrestling each other, right? Because I'm a Prince. We're Dragon Ball Z heads. I'm a Dragon Ball Z head. So like I'm a Prince. I'm thinking I'm like Prince Vegeta, and then you got the guy Goku who's a goof. Like he's always been a high energy goof guy, but like he's always been good in the ring. And I've always been like the not so serious but pretty serious kind of guy. Like I know how talented I am, but he's just so jumpy and goofy. It's like, how are you jumpy and goofy and this talented? So we've always wanted to tell that story. So it's funny that we're tags now, and we can just think about it. So it's fun. It's fun now.
Yeah. And you ended up being a pretty great tag team because you won the belts, right?
Yeah,
It's interesting that two guys who didn't want to be tag team wrestlers ended up tag team champions. That's a
yeah,
pretty
it's
cool story to tell in
crazy.
itself. And would you say tag team wrestling has kind of grown on you since winning the belts?
Yes, it has. It opened my mind to what pro wrestling is. You know what I mean? Like you can make art with tag team wrestling, and I started watching all kind of tag team matches from Mexico, Japan, America, Canada, UK. I started watching all kind of tag team wrestling, trying to see what fits us best. If that makes sense. So tag wrestling has really, it's really. I think I like tag team wrestling more than singles now, to be honest.
Wow, that's incredible. It reminds me of Steve Austin in WCW. How he said he never wanted to be a tag guy, and then when him and Brian Pillman got together, all he wanted to do was tag. And that's so interesting. And now that you've been able to work for MPX, this is a high level
Yep.
organization in Texas. It's pretty legit. Who would you
Yep.
say are some of the opponents that you've really enjoyed working with over in MPX?
Oh man. I think it's funny. My favorite, we wrestle Horsepower. That was fun. Horsepower is a pretty big known in Dallas tag team. They were super fun. I would have to say the Sons of Mayhem. The Sons of Mayhem was fun. That was our very first feud. We got nominated for feud of the year, wrestling the Sons of Mayhem. So that was pretty cool. That was super fun. So that's I think that was the tag team that helped us put us on the map. So I'm always thankful for them, if that makes sense.
Oh, that's super cool. And like I mentioned, like at the very beginning, that you've wrestled a bunch of promotions across Texas. How'd you end up in New Texas Pro Wrestling for a bit? You wrestled a couple matches for them, right?
I wrestled the Texas Contenders. I wrestled the Texas Contenders.
Oh
So what
yeah.
happened was I think I hit up what I hit up. I think I hit up JJ Blake. He was telling me about Texas Contenders, and he was like, I think you would be a really good fit here. So I talked to the other promoters and stuff like that, and they got me to wrestle Jay Davis, and it was a pretty fun match for me and Jay Davis. We went out there, we wrestled. And now, granted, it was in December. It was cold in the warehouse, but it was still fun. It was a fun match, and they liked me. They said they wanted me back. I haven't got the rest of there yet though, in a minute, but they said they're gonna bring me back. Maybe Purple Haze. Who knows? So that would be fun, right?
You never know. They're having that tournament right now for the Texas Contender Series Championship. Maybe you can come
Yes,
down and
they are.
challenge the champion someday. You know, that'd be pretty
Bring it,
cool.
bring it. Whoever it is, whoever it is, I ain't scared of
Definitely.
nothing.
No, that's for sure. I wanted to ask you a couple of questions like when you've been in the ring since 2018, you had that shoulder
Yeah,
injury for a year.
yeah.
Wrestling across Texas, who would you say has been the hardest hitting opponent you've had? Someone that maybe you want them to ease up a little bit next time.
Ooh, I got hit by Demo Diamonds one time. Guy from Dallas. I got hit by him, and I was like, "Oh, brother, it's gonna be a long night. It's gonna be a very long night." I was like, "Man, this guy hits." Um, that's another guy on top of my tongue. I can't think. Um, I've seen it before. Chris Carter. Chris Carter hits because I mean he needs to. I mean Chris Carter is like he ain't like super big, so like when he punches, he punches. I was like, yo, that's that's a guy that makes sense. I like that.
Yeah, I remember the PWF Anarchy is in the main event, and I saw him
Yeah,
right in front of me chop T Ray. And I was like, dude, what are you doing chopping T Ray like that? And he chopped the hell out of him. And T Ray just
yo,
flipped it around and gave him the chop of a lifetime. That's definitely someone I wouldn't want to get hit by. And
no, no, T Ray got
yeah,
it. I ain't gonna lie, T Ray got it.
yeah, you got it. And you see a couple of the bigger promotions in Texas, like Reality of Wrestling, right? Is that somewhere
Mhm.
you would like to work?
That would be fun. That would be fun. That would be fun. I That would be fun. That's that's really it. That would be ideal for me right there. I would love Purple Haze to come down. Would be
Right.
man. Fly Death is one of those tags that we want to wrestle. Me and Steve, we always talk about like, man, we can get in the ring with Fly Death. That would be pretty cool. So that would be ideal right there.
Hmm. No, there's a bunch of tag teams in Reality that I would love to see Purple Haze mix it up with Culture Inc.,
Yeah.
La Familia, a couple of them out there.
Hmm.
The Nature Boys, of course. Uh, we would love
Yeah.
to see someone like Purple Haze or Prince Alexander in Reality of Wrestling. But since you've been kind of touring around Texas doing your thing, has the idea of kind of going outside of Texas, wrestling other promotions and nearby states. Although I will say Texas is a pretty big territory as it is. But has the idea of going out of state kind of come across your mind?
Every day. Every day. Me and Steve, we always talk about like I don't want to be just here in Texas. Like my goal, I looked up like Jay Lethal had a really big inspiration on me, and he wrestles. He still wrestles everywhere. So it's like I want to do this. You know what I mean? I loved the uh, the indie circuit at that time, and Jay Lethal was one of those main dudes, and he just literally from New Jersey, Florida, everywhere. And I'm like, man, I want to do that. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So Texas is cool. I love working in Texas. Don't get me wrong, but like if I can go out to Atlanta one day, California the next, that's that's my dream of pro wrestling right there.
No, that'd be amazing. And I wanted to ask you, so you've been on this journey. It hasn't been too long into your career, but what do you see
Yeah,
in the next 5 years? Where would you like to see yourself in the next 5 years in wrestling?
man, with everything, man, by a little bit of luck and grace of God, man, Impact Wrestling, Impact Wrestling. That's where I want to be. I want to be an Impact Wrestling.
Really?
That's the
Why
goal.
Impact Wrestling?
I don't know. I mean, I guess growing up, I loved Impact. I loved TNA. That was like one of my faves. Like as soon as I got done with Monday Night Raw, or I think at the time it came on at Thursday, Impact, and then Friday it was SmackDown. So Impact always had like that like little thing in my life, and I feel like I can really strive at a place like Impact Pro Wrestling. There's so many good talent there that I love that inspired me, like Rich Swan, Chris Bay, all those guys. Like if I can just get in the ring with those guys, that'll make my day right there.
That would be really cool. Impact. That's a really interesting answer because usually when I talk about like the dream promotions for some people, obviously we get the WWE, we get the AEW.
Yeah.
Sometimes we get New Japan, even Ring of
Hmm.
Honor. I think this is the first time I heard Impact Wrestling, which is really cool because I enjoy watching Impact, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, man. I love Impact, brother.
Um, but I wanted to finish off with some rapid fire questions for you. Prince, you ready? I'm just gonna give you a question. You can give me a quick response, 1 or 2 words, or you can explain a little bit more about it. Okay, let's get it.
Okay.
I was gonna ask you first of all WWE or AEW, but now I have to throw in Impact Wrestling. WWE, AEW, or Impact?
Oh, Impact. Impact.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Sorry, the connection was just kind of breaking up there, so I was like, man, what was he saying? But no
You
worries.
good?
Who is your dream opponent in Texas indie wrestling specifically? Someone you haven't faced yet, but you'd really like to.
Izzy James. Hands down, Izzy James.
Interesting. Why is he?
Izzy James. Man, my, I think everybody in my small circle knows I want to wrestle James. Everybody knows. Like, I grew up also watching at the time reality wrestling. It came on like during the local channel, like 2 or 1 o'clock in the morning, and I used to watch AZ James. He was on there, and I was like, "Yo, this guy is dope, man." Him, Gino, those guys. But for odd reason, like being in the locker room with him and watching his matches, I'm like, I want that. I want to wrestle Izzy James. So Izzy James has always been that guy.
Like you said, you guys have shared locker rooms. Have you ever been able to nudge to him like, "Hey, we should mix it up in the ring sometime"?
Yes, 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 yes. I tell every vet that, man, like, and he told me straight up, like, let's do it.
Yeah, Izzy James is one of the coolest dudes in the wrestling business today. He's one of our first interviews for Restless. A vet in the
Yeah.
business, a great guy. But on to the next question. Who's your dream opponent in general? If we're talking on the big stages, WWE, AEW, Impact, ROH, who's that one opponent you want to face?
I got two, like,
That's fine.
biased. It'll be Jay Lethal because he was such an inspiration on me. It had to be Jay
Yeah.
Lethal, and just in general, man, I want to get in the ring with Okada. That would be like the dream of all dreams. Like that would be
Ooh.
insane.
Ooh. Okay. Okay. Uh,
That
Okada would be crazy. Okay, cool. Well, I want to say, what is the worst finisher you've taken?
man, I think I just Aaron Eagle. Aaron Eagle. He does a power bomb with a backbreaker. That was rough. That was rough.
Definitely. And who would you say your wrestling style mirrors the most?
Ooh, I would have to say Jay Lethal and Austin Aries. Those were the people I used to look up a lot. Yeah.
You weren't lying. You're a huge Impact fan for sure. Uh, Prince Alexander, I want to thank you so much for joining us here at Restless. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to um, us here at Restless. We always appreciate wrestlers like you taking out the time from your day to sit down with us and chat. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
man. Bro, appreciate you having me, bro. It means a lot, man. It's an honor and a privilege, man. Love you, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no worries. I said, Prince, where can they find you on social media so they can check you
Oh,
out?
follow me on Prince Alexander on IG, Prince Alexander 84 on TikTok, and yeah, that's what I'm rocking right now. That's what I'm rocking, and
That's
always
what
be
it
there.
is. That's what it is. And as always, guys, thank you for joining us. Make sure to hit like, comment what you think, and subscribe. And as always, stay restless.
To